Hey, fifth graders, welcome back. Today we are working on lesson 12-3. Our I can statement is I can find the volume of an irregular solid. We've been working with volume for the past couple days, and we remember that volume is the amount of space it takes up to fill up a figure. However, we haven't worked with irregular solids before. Take a look at this shape. What do you notice about it? I'm noticing that this shape is not a regular prism. It's an irregular prism. There's no way I can find the volume by doing length times width times height with this shape. However, in today's lesson, you're going to learn that you can separate the irregular prisms into two regular prisms. That way, you can use the formula we learned yesterday, length times width times height. Here's an example of how I split this irregular shape or irregular prism into two regular prisms. If you notice, I highlighted this top prism, we'll call it prism A, in yellow. Then I highlighted this bottom prism, which will be prism B, in pink. The next thing that I'm going to do is I need to find the volume of both prisms. I do that the same way that I solved yesterday's work, by using our formula, length times width times height. Only this time, instead of one shape, I need to find it for both of my prisms. Let's take a look at my first prism, prism A. I know I need to use length times width times height in order to find the volume. So let's look up here at prism A. I see that the length of prism A is 4. I see that the width of prism A is 2. And the height of prism A is 5. In order to find the volume of prism A, I need to solve 4 times 2 times 5. I know that 4 times 2 is 8. I know that 8 times 5 more is 40. The volume of prism A is 40. Next, I'm not done. I need to move on to my second prism, prism B. So let's take a look at the pink. I need to find length times width times height for this prism B. I'm looking and I'm noticing the length of prism B is 4. The width of prism B is 6. And the height of prism B is 2. In order to find my answer, I have to find 4 times 6 times 2. I know that 4 times 6 is 24. 24 times 2 more is 48. Now, do you think I'm done? Remember, I'm trying to find the volume of this entire irregular prism. So my final step will be to combine these two numbers that I've gotten for my separate shapes. So to finish it off, I need to add 40 plus 48. I know that the volume for this irregular prism is 88. Let's take a look at another example. This is another picture of an irregular prism. I'm noticing that this irregular prism has already been broken into two regular prisms. You can see with the dotted line, I have my prism A back here and prism B right here. To make it a little bit easier, I color-coded them. In order to find the volume, I need to find the volume of prism A and then prism B. Remember, to end it, I need to combine them to find the total volume of this irregular prism. Let's go ahead and let's start with prism A. So I need to follow my formula, length times width times height. I'm looking at prism A, and I'm noticing that the length is only 1 foot. My width of prism A is a little bit harder to find. I'm trying to look at the bottom to see how wide it is, but I'm not seeing anything. I am noticing that prism A is the same width as prism B, and I do have that measurement. It's 4 feet. So because of that, I know that the width of prism A is also 4. Finally, I'm trying to find my height, which I see is 7. To find the volume of prism A, I need to multiply 1 and 4, which is 4, and then take 4 times 7, which is 28. I'm not done yet because I still have prism B to figure out. Let's go over here and let's follow the same formula. Length times width times height. The volume of prism B is going to be found by taking the length, which is 2, times the width, which is 4, times the height, which again is 2. Now I just need to go through and solve this. I know that 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 2 more is 16. Am I done? You might be thinking I'm done, but I'm not quite yet. Remember, in order to find the total volume, I need to combine these two answers. So I'm going to go over here in the middle, and I'm going to find 28 plus 16 more. I know that 8 times 4, 8 plus 6 is 14. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 more is 4. That means my final answer, or my total volume for this irregular prism, is 44 feet. Let's take a break from finding volume, and I just want you to take a second to practice splitting irregular prisms into 2 regular prisms. So in this instance, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to think and ask yourself, how would I split this irregular prism up into 2 regular prisms? Pause the video and think about it. You might be thinking that you could draw an invisible line or imagine in your head that the prism would be split right here. If you were thinking that, your prism might look something like this in your brain. You also might have thought it a different way. You might have thought about splitting the prism right here. In that case, your prism might look something like this. Both ways would work great. Even though you would be finding the volume to prism A and B and combining them, and same over here, A and B and combining them, you would get the same volume for each prism, even though it's split up differently. Let's take a look at one more example. Here is a rectangular solid. You can see that this is an irregular shape. There's a lot of different turns, a lot of different measurements. In order to find the volume for this, I'm going to need to break it up into 2 regular prisms. Now, I want you to pause the video and I want you to think about how you would split this shape up. In my brain, I was thinking of splitting the shape up something like this. So I have prism A right here, and I have prism B right over here. Just like always, I'm going to have to find the volume of both and combine them to find the total volume of this irregular prism. The first one I'm going to work on is prism A over here. I'm following the same formula, length times width times height. Let's take a look at my prism. I know I need to find the length times width times height. All right, my length is 4 right here. My width is 8 right here. And my height is 3 centimeters right here. In order to find the volume, I need to multiply these three together. I know that 4 times 8 is 32. Now I'm going to have to multiply 32 times 3. Remember, you can always go off to the side and solve those multiplication problems that you don't know off the top of your head. So I'm going to go over here and solve 32 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. I know the volume for prism A is going to be 96. I'm not done yet. I have to go over here and I have to find the volume for prism B. So I'm following the same formula, length times width times height. Let's take a look at this one. I know that I'm going to be finding the length, and I'm seeing that that is 3. Multiplying that by the width, which looking at the prism, I'm seeing that this is 8. And multiplying that by the height, which is 4. 3 times 8 is 24. Now I'm going to have to find 24 times 4. So once again, I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to solve that. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 more, 96. So I got 96 for both of my prisms. I'm not quite done. What's the final step I have to do? Hopefully you were saying I need to combine both of my volumes for both prisms, and you're correct. So I'm going to take 96 plus 96, and I'm going to add that together. 6 plus 6 is 12. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 9 more is 192. That is my final volume, or my total volume, for my irregular prism. Today, you learned how to find the volume of an irregular solid. Now, you still use our formula. Volume is length times width times height, but today you had to take a step further and you had to split the irregular solid into two regular prisms. We did that by shading and using our brain to find different ways to split up shapes. Don't forget, you can write down this formula to help you remember how to find the volume of a prism. Good luck today, 5th grade.